What's up guys, my name is Rising and welcome back to another gun guide. In this series we go deep into all of the stats for all of the weapons in COD Mobile's multiplayer, and towards the end I provide some recommended class setups that works the best for your playstyle. And in today's episode, continuing with the buffed weapons of this season, we're covering the S36 light machine gun. First appeared in Black Ops 2 as the QBB LSW, the S36 is the LMG conversion of the QBZ-95 assault rifle, or the Type 25 is what most of you might be familiar with. And now after the buff, the S36 will be a 4-shot kill anywhere in the body all the way to its second damage range that is 22 meters, which you can further increase to the third damage range if you mix at least 2 shots torso up. The head multiplier was also buffed, and now headshots are quite effective, requiring you to hit a single headshot in the maximum damage range to reduce it to a 3-shot kill. Additionally, in the second damage range, you can also get a 3-shot kill if you mix 1 head and 2 shots torso up. So generally, headshots are going to be quite effective with this gun, and there's no reason not to aim high with the S36. The rate of fire is high for an LMG at 750 rounds per minute, which is identical to the Chopper and the Bruin Mark 9. This rate of fire might seem familiar at this point as it shares the same fire rate as the XM4, Type 19, and the Groza. This means your base 4-shot time to kill will be 240 milliseconds, which is very competitive. You also get a solid 320 millisecond 5-shot time to kill in the mid-ranges. However, in longer ranges, you drop down to a 6-shot 400 millisecond time to kill. This isn't terrible if you're going to compare it to the XM4 and the Type 19, since they also drop to a 6-shot kill at longer ranges. However, once you compare it with other LMGs, you can see a pretty harsh drop there. And combining all of these together, this is what we get on the range chart. By putting the S36 side by side with other LMGs, the first thing that I want to point out is that even though the S36 has a better 4-shot range than the Chopper and the Bruin, it is not going to be an infinite 5-shot unlike the other two. On top of that, the S36 has the second worst 5-shot range out of all the other LMGs, excluding the MG42 and the MG82, as they both have a significantly faster rate of fire. The only LMG that has a worse range is the Dingo, which may actually look quite underwhelming as it has a worse time to kill on top of having a bad range profile. However, that's for another video where I'll cover the Dingo separately. So overall, the S36 doesn't seem to be quite worth using over the Chopper or the Bruin, at least as far as the ranges are concerned. However, moving on to its handling, the aim down sight is quite slow, 420 milliseconds, which is just in between the Bruin and the Chopper. Although it is faster than LMG average, it is still very slow in the current pacing of the game. Its sprint to fire time is also right about standard for an LMG, maybe just a little better than average, but it's because the MG42 skews up the average in this regard. Moving on to mobility, we see that the S36 does excel very nicely in this department, tied with the Holger and the Bruin having the second fastest base movement and sprint speed in its class. This might encourage you to play a bit aggressively with the S36, however, you're still carrying an LMG in hand, which of course has a much worse mobility than any other flex assault rifle or SMGs. As for accuracy, the S36 does have a very tight bullet spread for the ranges you're generally going to be having your encounters. Even though most of the LMGs are quite accurate in terms of their ADS spread, the S36 features the second best spread value in its class, just behind the RAL MG, which is obviously an outlier in this aspect. However, it is tied with the Holger, PKM, Dingo, and the Bruin having the worst hipfire spread in its class. So in most of the cases, you should generally not want to be hipfiring with this gun all that often. In saying so, with its fast fire rate, it's not like you'll be missing a ton of shots while hipfiring. You can still hit at least half of your shots, but you won't be as consistent as if you were using an SMG, for instance. Its hit flinch is slightly below average, but you might as well call that standard, as the RAL MG is again an outlier here, which skews down the average by quite a lot in this regard. And finally, the bullet impact is standard for an LMG. And now coming to recoil, this is one area where the S36 definitely doesn't stand out at all. As you can see, even though the later shots are grouped quite tightly, the first few shots are very spaced out and can absolutely throw you off target if you're not aware of that. And in a game like Call of Duty, those are your most essential shots in a gunfight. Your first shot recoil will have a huge impact on your time to kill. If you miss those and rely on the later shots, you're pretty much putting yourself at a massive disadvantage. So all things considered, I do not consider the S36 to be a highly accurate gun for this particular aspect. Now this won't validate in Battle Royale, as the time to kill is much slower and you'll require a ton of shots to kill an enemy with full HP, but as far as multiplayer is concerned, if you really want a fast time to kill, you gotta hit those initial shots before you get melted by any other meta-defining weapon. Moving on to magazines, the base mag capacity is 60 rounds with 240 in reserve. However, its reload times are quite nice for an LMG at 2.08 seconds for its tactical reload and 1.92 seconds while empty. And yes, this is again one of those guns where your empty reload is somehow faster than your tactical reload. Now you can speed it up to 1.77 seconds with sleight of hand if you want, which is a good improvement, but I wouldn't say that it is so much necessary on this weapon, and you're better off using something else like Disable or FMJ. We also have the 65 round belt as well as the 110 round belt, and surprisingly, none of them have any impact on their reload times. So a 2-second reload on a 110 round magazine is absolutely nuts, and I'll highly recommend using that magazine if you're going for a more traditional LMG playstyle. And finally, for material penetration, here are the values on the screen, and with FMJ we get a very drastic improvement to all of our penetration values. So FMJ is going to be a very effective option on this weapon if you're playing it as a suppressive MG. And with that, that's going to wrap up with all of the base stats of the S36. And now let us see how to build it effectively. And I've got 2 different builds for this today. For those who want to play aggressive with the S36, this build is designed for you, where we have the tactical suppressor for concealment, light barrel for overall improved handling and mobility, granulated grip for BSA, disable for slowing down enemies, and finally I'm using the 1 milliwatt laser so that you can take down enemies at close ranges without worrying too much. You may swap out the laser for either the operator foregrip to cut down that recoil, or even a bigger magazine if you're not comfortable with the base capacity of 60 rounds. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of this setup, as there are a ton of other options that could be used better for an aggressive play, but still, if you really want to use the S36 and play aggressive with it, then this is the best that I could find. But my preferred way of running the S36 is with this suppression build, where we again have the tac suppressor for concealment, granulated grip for BSA, this time we're having the operator foregrip for recoil control, FMJ to gather intel through walls, and finally the 110 round belt. This setup is suited for a traditional long-range passive LMG that can provide suppressive fire to your team. And finally, for the stats of these 2 builds, here they are on the screen, and I don't want to go individually on each one of them. With the aggression build, we have a good improvement to all of our mobility values. However, our recoil is a little worse, which won't really matter as long as you're not challenging longer ranges. And for the suppression build, the gun is of course a little less mobile, but instead we have a lot more stability to it since our recoil is not much better than the base weapon, and you can stretch out those ranges pretty effectively with this setup. But with that, that's finally going to wrap it up on the gun guide for the S36. As for my thoughts on it, I'm not a big fan of it, and to be honest, this might be my least favorite LMG at the moment. I really don't like it at all, and if I'm really going to use an LMG, I'd rather go with the RAL for better wall bangs, the MG42, cause why not, or even the Bruin, which has an identical time to kill as the S36, but with a much better handling, mobility, and recoil stats. The Bruin is just better in every aspect apart from the fact that it is a non-hit scan weapon. So combining all of these together, I don't think the S36 is nowhere near as what it used to be during the launch. It's definitely not the worst LMG out there, you can still get good outcomes with it. However, as long as better options exist, why would you even want to use the worse version? But of course, those were just my thoughts, and now I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think of the weapon? Have you given the S36 a shot after the buff? And if so, did you feel any difference with it? Just let all those thoughts in the comment section down below. I believe I can cover a couple more guns before this season is about to end, so if you have anything in mind for the next season, let me know what you want me to cover next. In case you've missed any of my previous gun guides, I'll leave the links to the playlists in the description of this video. If you want builds for all the weapons, then join my Discord server, where you can access all of them and also be a part of the community. And if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe to see future content and leave a like on this video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.